Hello, it's Judy Bartkowiak again from NLP and EFT Kids. It's been a while actually since I've recorded a podcast, but I wanted to share this with you because it's about happiness. And I think many of us strive for happiness, perhaps in the wrong places. And I'd like to share with you from an audiobook by Mo Gawdat, and I was first introduced to him by Elizabeth Day on her podcast, How to Fail, where she interviewed him. This book is called Solve for Happy. Mo Gawdat is actually the former chief business officer for Google X. So let's hear what he has to say about happiness.
Setting up the equation. It doesn't matter if you're rich or poor, tall or short, male or female, young or old. It doesn't matter where you come from, what you do for a living, what language you speak, or what tragedies you've endured. Wherever you are, whoever you want to be happy. It's a human desire, about as basic as the drive to take the next breath. Happiness is that glorious feeling when everything seems right, when all of life's twists and turns and jagged edges seem to fit together perfectly. In those often all too brief flickers of genuine happiness, every thought in your head is agreeable, and you wouldn't mind if time stood still and the present moment extended forever. Whatever we choose to do in life is ultimately an attempt to find this feeling and make it last. Some people look for it in romance, while others seek it in wealth or fame, and still others through some form of accomplishment. Yet we all know of people who are deeply loved, achieve great things, travel the world, snap up all the toys money can buy, indulge in every luxury, and still long for the elusive goal of satisfaction, contentment, and peace, also known as happiness. Why should something so basic be so hard to find? The truth is, it isn't. We're just looking for it in the wrong places. We think of it as a destination to reach, when in fact, it's where we all began. Have you ever searched for your keys only to realize they were in your pocket all along? Remember how you removed everything from your desk, searched beneath the couch, and got more and more frustrated the longer they went missing? We do the same thing when we struggle to find happiness out there, when in fact, happiness is right where it's always been, inside us, a basic design feature of our species. Our default state. Look at your computer, smartphone, or other gadgets. They all come with the preferences preset by the designers and the programmers. There's a certain level of screen brightness, say, or a localized user interface language. A device fresh from the factory, set up the way its creators think best, is said to be in its default state. For human beings, simply put, the default state is happiness. If you don't believe me, spend a little time with a human fresh from the factory, an infant or toddler. Obviously, there's a lot of crying and fussing associated with the startup phase of little humans, but the fact is, as long as their most basic needs are met, no immediate hunger, no immediate fear, no scary isolation, no physical pain or enduring sleeplessness, they live in the moment, perfectly happy. Even in distressed parts of the world, you can see children with dirty faces using little pebbles as toys or holding a cracked plastic plate as the steering wheel of an imaginary sports car. They may live in a hovel, but as long as they have food and a modicum of safety, you'll see them run around hooting with joy. Even in news coverage of refugee camps, where thousands have been displaced by war or natural disaster, the adults in front of the camera will appear grim. But in the background, you'll still hear the sounds of kids laughing as they play soccer with a knot of rags for a ball. But it's not only kids. This default state applies to you too. Look back into your own experience. Summon up a time when nothing annoyed you, nothing worried you, and nothing upset you. You were happy, calm, and relaxed. The point is, you didn't need a reason to be happy. You didn't need a big promotion or a hot date or a yacht with a helicopter pad. All you needed was no reason to be unhappy, which is another way of saying happiness is the absence of unhappiness. Remember, happiness is the absence of unhappiness. It's our resting state when nothing clouds the picture or causes interference. Remember, happiness is your default state. When you use a programmed device, you sometimes change its default settings without meaning to. Sometimes so much so that certain functions become more difficult to use. You install an app that frequently connects to the internet, and your battery life decreases. You download malware, and everything starts to go haywire. The same thing happens with the human default for happiness. Parental or societal pressure, belief systems, and unwarranted expectations come along and override some of the original programming. The you who started out happily, cooing in your crib, playing with your toes, gets caught up in a flurry of misconceptions and illusions. Happiness becomes a mysterious goal you seek, but can't quite grasp, rather than something simply there for you each morning when you open your eyes. If you were to picture it, the times when you're unhappy are like being buried under a pile of rocks made up of illusions, social pressures, and false beliefs. To reach happiness, you need to remove those rocks one by one, starting with some of your most fundamental beliefs.
I'm going to stop there. It's all so fascinating to listen to. I'm really enjoying this book. But this piece on happiness really intrigued me, and it really made me reflect on that idea that happiness is your default state. It's your basic state. It's what's within us before other expectations arise. So it's possible to look for happiness within yourself. And so many of the mums I talk to and the kids I talk to are looking in the wrong place. They're looking outside for happiness. They're looking for affirmations from social media, from friends, from exam results, from parents, and so on. But I just want to leave this with you. What if happiness is your default state, that is your natural factory setting, and that we have the potential to be happy by the absence of things that make us unhappy? I mean, obviously, we can't avoid all of those because of there are things like sort of illnesses and so on, and there can be things that will make us unhappy. But instead of seeking after it outside of ourselves, what about if we looked for it inside and assumed it as our default state? Okay, just something to share with you, and something that's not from one of my books, but something that's from my heart, sharing with you from somebody else's book.